Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya al-mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, I have given you some tips and how we can actually change our situation when we are confronted with a negative perception. And I'm going to give you more examples, inshallah, and various toolkits for us to become achievers. Also, in our development of positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy, we are going to create toolkits for us to be able to use it on a personal level. That means it is a practice that you can develop over time to make yourself become an achiever. Or you have psychological problems, you can then find your own self-help through a small group or individually within a family to overcome your challenges through the toolkits and the methods in which I am going to teach you, inshallah, step by step. Because this is very important, and these are based on some research which I have conducted and some studies with teachers in motivation, teachers in mentoring, teachers in coaching, also in terms of the psychology of how we can transform ourselves to become an achiever in life. So our framework, I've mentioned to you that positive Islamic psychology model is based on the three environmental sources. That means we have the imprint from the environment, whether it's our physiology, whether it is our genetics, whether it is our place, our diet, and so on. We also have the imprint from the social environment, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and societal values and system that impacts our reality, and also from inner speech, which I say this is the greatest gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has given us, in which we can change our reality using inner speech. We change our perception, we change our feeling, emotions and thinking, and then we change our total past learning history at the four levels of spiritual, emotional, mental and physical, and then we have a successful life in this world and the hereafter. So I'm going to give you some tips on how actually to do this today. Today I'm going to discuss of how you change your perception. That means your FET perception. Alright, most important is for you to change your perception. Okay, your perception at FET level, and then you can change your reality. Because if you change your perception at your feeling, emotion and thinking level, this perception will then change your reality. And how we can do that? There are many levels. Okay, we can start at the self level. That's means your internal inner speech. At this level, your internal inner speech. Internal inner speech. At SEMP. Okay, this is which I have described earlier on. The same thing, we have the family level, societal and ummah level, global level, and so on, which imprints, that perception, the imprint of the perception is either positive or negative. That means at this level we are either negative or positive. So what and how are we going to tackle this problem? Because through the media, through the internet, through the news channel, through your WhatsApp, through your YouTube, through so many of these channels today, information is flowing to us. The imprint is flowing to us at an unprecedented rate. We cannot control. So we have an information overload. Not only information overload, we also have an overload of nonsense that is affecting our life. It is triggering our amygdala and always putting us in the stressful situation. And what are these? These are negative worldviews that revolves on the kind of thoughts that is built in your mind. Because many studies in neurology and immunity, immunology, and so on, there's new science. We have thoughts at our feeling, emotion, thinking level, we have about 50,000 of those. Those fleeting thoughts is impinging on us 50,000 times a day. That's a lot. But if we understand that these are thoughts that impinge on us, and these thoughts, 80% of them are negative. That means we have a negative feeling, emotion, and thinking, which is actually affecting our stress hormone, which is affecting our reality of life, how we shape how we perceive the world, how we perceive the ummah, how we perceive the family, how we perceive the self. I will give you some examples of how this negative FET cause us what we call analysis paralysis. We analyze. Why? Because we get the imprint. Each time we get the input from the news channel, from the melodrama, from the WhatsApp, from so many sources, we become more and more paralyzed. Instead of moving forward, instead of changing our reality to be a positive human being, we're becoming more and more negative. And when we become more and more negative, we become more and more anxious of our current situation, not only of our past situation, our current situation, our future situation. When we become more anxious, then we are stressed. When we are stressed, then we become depressed. And when we become depressed, we become hopeless, and we become people who take no action to change ourselves, to change the world, to make ourselves good, to help others good, to make this world good. And we become just a zombie, existing on this planet Earth. No meaning, no purpose, no sense of achievement, no sense of contribution. And this is where this evil of this dunya today is sucking billions and billions and billions of human beings towards the direction of meaningless in life. So let us think about it, because 90% of these thoughts are repetitive FET. So they are repeating yourself. You know, you have a negative FET. This negative, 80% are negative, and this negative feeling, emotion, and thoughts is playing in your spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical self. So it is playing, and you seems to have no control over it. Every time it comes up, it comes just like that. These are automatic thoughts, which Aaron Beck has mentioned to you. This is what in Islam, where Ibn al-Qayyim, Al-Imam Ghazali describe them as inner speech, our inner thinking. And some psychologists put it as a point of conscious and unconscious thinking. All right? Some say it is whatever that comes to your mind, come from the realm that is not controllable. That is not true. In Islam, it is controllable. We can control our reality. By what? By shaping our perception. So our feeling, emotion, and thinking, this perception at this level can then change our reality. That means we can have more and more positive reality, less and less negative reality. That means this 80% of these negative thoughts can be reduced. 80% of the negative thoughts, we can reduce it, and we boost our, because we are going to have automatic thoughts, whether you like it or not. We can boost our positive thoughts, make it higher, so that when we have this balance between negative towards positivity, we can achieve success and a better understanding of the world that we live, and the ability to have a balance. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us in the Quran that He has created this universe and us human being in various ayahs in the Quran in just balance. That means there's a mizan, there's a balance, which Allah tells us to keep it. Allah tells us to keep the balance of our own self at the spiritual, emotional, mental level. Allah tells us to keep the balance of our family in terms of our relationship. Allah tells us about the balance in terms of this existence of our creation from the womb and up to becoming human being. That means we are created to become good human beings. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. That balance between trying to be good, achieving to be good, or regressing to become hopeless. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us to take the balance of this ecology, this dunya, it's always in just balance. So that balance is very important for us, because we cannot run away from the reality that these automatic thoughts, you cannot make it disappear. But you can realign, all right, through self-awareness of how you're going to change the world to make it a better place, to make it a nicer place for all. So I'm going to give you a few examples. Let us take, say, level at the global level, the societal level, and family level. Each one of these examples, I can give you what are your inner speech and what are our inner speech, including myself. We get this imprint from this greed of this dunya. We get this idea of some multi-billionaire having 100 over billion USD, buying private jet, buying private yacht, some crooks stealing billions of dollars, and so on. So when we get that, what inner speech that we have about this global world? It is an evil world, it's a greedy world, it's a bad world. So every day, evil, greedy, bad, imping on us. If we don't balance that with something positive, then we become a negative human being. When we become a negative human being, what do we say? There's no hope for this dunya. So when there's no hope for this dunya, then what do you become? You become somebody who is not an activist, somebody who is just, existing in this world like a zombie, not doing anything positive, not participating in changing this world to make it a better place. So that is an example of how our perception of FET that's impinged on us, and these negative thoughts of this evil world, this evil world, this evil world is repeating in our feeling, emotion, and thinking self, our FET self. And that will cause us to become what we call paralysis, analysis paralysis. We analyze, say, oh, no hope. So that is one area, one example in which we can overcome. How? We change our perception. We can accept the fact that the world is evil, the world is greedy, the world is bad, but then there's all these people, good people in the world, who's trying to change this world to make a better world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us to make this world a just world. There are many thousands of good people, scholars, economists, sociologists, psychologists, all the intellectual powers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has handed out upon humanity is moving towards trying to make this world a just world, a good world, a happy world, where there is no oppression, no conflict, no murder, no war, no killing, and so on. So we must be part of that thoughts within ourselves. So we try at the global level to have a more positive worldview at the global level. The same thing, we will study the societal and ummatic level, our ummah. We are in a terrible shape. Naturally, when we are in a terrible shape, we feel hopeless. So you have a lot of hopeless Muslims going around just taking the idea that, okay, because we are oppressed, we are called terrorists, we are, not economically viable, we have failed states, we have so many things in the Muslim world. That doesn't mean there's no hope. So if you take this idea that your inner speech is a hopeless ummah, what do? Escapism. All right, so you try to escape. So there are people in the Muslim world, they're good Muslims, but they reach a level of hopelessness that they try to bring their family to one rural area, sit down, and wait for the world to end, which is, I think, is a very, very negative worldview, as if that you are trying to save yourself to go to heaven alone. Remember, you cannot go to heaven alone. You got to bring everybody in this dunya to go to heaven with you. So we have to have that change, that perception, and that can only come if we can accept the fact, okay, it is a reality that this ummah, we have negative perception, we have negative capability, we have terrorists, we have suicide bombers, but we have to find a way. How can we remove, by the shaping process, to shape this young generation? How can then they not become suicide bombers? How can we change their sense of self-righteousness that there's only one way to Jannah, is by bombing themselves and making that false assumption outside the purview of Islam? They are not, in that sense, using Islam. So we can do that by activism. How are we going to change our ummah to become a positive ummah, a strong ummah, and ummah that strive for justice, peace, happiness, and success for all of us, all humanity, all creatures on this good earth, so that we fulfill the goal and the role that Allah has ordained upon us to be His true and sincere servant, His Abdullah, and to be His Khalifa on this earth. To achieve the best, to fulfill the best, to receive the best, to think about the best, to have the best perception, and shape it towards that direction of goodness, inshallah. The same thing we could talk about the family and self level. We have family conflict, we have a lot of divorces, we have a lot of children without proper schooling, without being made slaves, child slaves, and so on. So we have to find a way out by having a positive imprint into our FET. But most important, I'm going to describe it myself, because now I'm going to give you a few more tools how you can actually change this level, because this is the key. If you don't change the self, it's not possible for you to change the family. If you don't change the family, it's not possible for you to change the ummah. If you don't change the ummah, it's not possible to change the globe, the global society. So it starts with the self. How we can change our perception, our feeling, emotion, and thinking to become positive, to direct it towards becoming a good human being. And I'm going to give you a few techniques, a few models based on the research that is being done. And inshallah, you can expand it. You can do experiment, because positive Islamic psychology is a new field. It's our handbook. Our positive Islamic psychology handbook is the first handbook in the Muslim world, which is very sad. I mean, it is sad that we only have one little handbook here, even though it's quite voluminous. But you can then develop your scholarship of how we are going to make this ummah change our perception, and then when we change our perception, we change our reality, and this ummah become an achieving ummah, striving at all ways to make this world good, to help others to be good, to make ourselves good, and inshallah we will achieve the greatest of all success with the grace of Allah, inshallah.